It's a pleasure to have you join us on Money Matters on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. We start off with business news. The Federal Executive Council has announced the approval of over 161 million euros for the execution of contracts in the first batch of the Phase 1 of the Siemens power project across the country. The Minister for Power, Adebayo Adelabu, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondent at the end of the council meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the council chamber presidential villa in Abuja. The minister also said that FEC approved 1.7 billion naira for the acquisition of the office complex for the National Electricity Liability Management Company in Abuja.
The final and permanent solution to our national grid problem today is that we must regionalize the grid, or if possible, we need to have individual state grid which will be insulated from the national grid. If there's a disturbance or a partial collapse or a full collapse of the national grid, why we all know about it is because the light will go out and the consumers will feel that there's a problem. But the moment there is a backup or there is a failover in each of the states, nobody will know that there is a problem with the grid. So that is the permanent solution, and each of our states will have embedded power plants within the state, and there will be transmission and distribution within the territory of each state that will be insulated from the national network.
The Central Bank of Nigeria set a daily withdrawal limit of 100,000 naira per customer on point-of-sale terminals. The restriction, in line with the Apex Bank's ongoing effort to advance a cashless economy, will help in addressing identified challenges, combat fraud, and establish uniform operational standard across the industry. The restriction was contained in a circular issued to all deposit money banks, microfinance bank, money mobile operators, and super agents. The circular ordered that each agent's daily cumulative cash-out limit should not exceed 1.2 million naira. We'll go on a break now and be back with more stories from the corporate world.
Hello, Alahaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you are raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country. Welcome back. Shell PLC says its Nigerian subsidiary Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company Limited has announced a final investment decision on Bonga North, a deepwater project off the coast of Nigeria. In a statement, Shell said the Bonga North will be a subsea tie-back to its Bonga floating production storage and offloading facility, which it will operate with a 55% interest. According to the company, the project would maintain oil and gas production at the Bonga facility. Now, speaking exclusively to TV360 Nigeria, energy analyst Abubakar Ibrahim says the project will improve employment and attract foreign investors into the country.
The development is very significant to what Nigeria is trying to achieve. the current administration has said that before the end of this year, they are looking at ramping up production to 1.8 million barrels per day. And currently, as at the figure, posted by the NUPRC last month for last month, we're doing 1.48 in terms of crude oil. But if you are adding condensate, that's blended and unblended condensates, the figure, rises up to 1.67, approximately 1.7. So what that means is that we are short of over 100,000 barrels of crude oil per day production. However, we still have this month, that's December, to see if they could meet that target. So then going into 2025, the administration has also said they want to hit the 2 million barrels mark. It's been a long time Nigeria did that. As a matter of fact, we've not reached or meet our OPEC quota in a very long time. So with this development and other development that has happened over the last weeks, we'll probably be seeing a whole lot happening in that regards, ramping up for production, bringing in investment into the country, and creating employment for people in that sector to also get something doing. So it's a very huge one for the country, and I believe that we'll also work on, as a country, work on how the country can secure these assets and make sure that the issues of vandalism, theft, and all of that are reduced or curbed. Even Shell, many of these IOCs, that international oil companies, they are leaving their assets onshore and also shallow water assets to the national oil companies. Literally, they are giving this to local producers to work on. However, they are still maintaining their offshore assets. So give or take, we need to do more in that regard. We look at countries like Angola, Uganda, they are doing massively. They're getting massive investments, and this speaks to the reforms and policies, laid down by the governments of those countries. So Nigeria really needs to secure assets of these IOCs, needs to, put in place things, reforms, policies that will help them bring more investment into the sector. We have the issue of climate change, and people wanting to transition into renewable energy. So these are also some of the issues that we're facing as a country. However, if we can speak to curbing the security issues around theft, vandalism, as I said earlier, then we can get more investment, because these people want to come. We have the oil. They need the working business environment. If these two can be, put in place for them, trust me, we'll be getting more investment into this sector before we can even announce crude oil.
We'll take a break now, but when Money Matters return, we'll be discussing Nigeria's inflation rate rising to 34.6% in November 2024. I'll bring you more details after this break.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the GoTo app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Nigeria's inflation rate has climbed to 34.6% in November 2024, up from 33.8% in October. That's according to the latest Consumer Price Index report from the National Bureau of Statistics published on their site. This marks a continuation of the upward trend observed in September, when the nation recorded a reversal of a 2-month decline. The report shows a 0.72% increase in inflation rate when compared to the previous month, highlighting ongoing economic pressure across the country. The persistent rise in inflation has intensified concerns over its impact on purchasing power, with food and energy costs continuing to be a major sources of pressure. Now let's discuss this further. Economist Mukhtar Mohammed now joins me on the program. Many thanks for joining me on the program, Mr. Mohammed. Now, Nigeria has experienced a sharp increase in food prices in recent years. In November 2024, the inflation report, the NBS explained that the food inflation rate rose to 2.98%, which is a 0.05 percentage points increase when compared to the 2.94% rate recorded in October 2024. Now, what would you say is the solution to this continuous increase in prices of food items in the country?
I think we need food security. That's one. What is responsible? You and I know, number one, high cost of energy, high cost of transportation as a result of the increment in PMS, which is mostly what some of these farmers using transporting their product to the urban area. Like I've said, insecurity also is playing a major role. Some of the farmers cannot go to farm, so there's a supply gap, and that is not being taken care of. And then also we have the exchange rate is still there, and that has to do with when you talk about the exchange rate. Now a lot of people say, "Oh, well, how does local production have anything to do with exchange rate?" But you're talking about the machineries that are used to convert this product into finished products. We don't the machineries that are used to convert this product into finished products. We don't have a good, strong metal company. So most of these things are actually brought in from outside the shop. This which is to do with high interest rate because of hiking interest rate by the CBN. And so that means cost of funding has gone up. So most of these farmers, large-scale farmers that borrowed money from the bank, they are paying more for that. And so these are majorly the main issues that have been responsible for the high cost of food items.
Now, given the sharp increase in food prices like rice, yam, and palm oil, how much of this increase is linked to supply chain disruption versus currency depreciation or other macroeconomic factors?
The funny thing is that they are all linked. You talk about for supply chain disruption, like I've mentioned, and then again, if they go to France, they are paying a lot of levies to get their product, even for people to buy in the market because of banditry and others. Then you also have mint and others. Those are major challenges. Exchange rate depreciation, that is there. Like I said, some of these machineries that they use, the exchange rate has gone up. So definitely those costs of those products will go up. When you talk about microeconomy issue, high interest rates, reduction of liquidity in the system, like what we are currently suffering. So this all normally affects smaller businesses, especially when you know that these rural farmers are the ones that are responsible for some of these products that find their ways into the city. So that's a supply gap issue also. And added to that supply gap issues is those issues of exchange rate, then the microeconomy issues, like you said, is still there. So definitely those are the major challenges you have listed. And I keep saying the Nigerian inflationary pressures, especially food inflation, is driven by a lot of issues. Like one of them is supply chain distortion, macroeconomic indices, demand and supply, and then your cost of production also is there. And then you have gone up because of production as a result of high exchange rate. So you can see that they are interlinked, what you just said, and they are all affecting this household item almost at the same time.
Well, according to the report from the NBS, core inflation, which excludes food and energy, has also risen to 28.75%. What are the main contributors to this, and how does it compare to inflation trends in other emerging markets?
Yes, outside of those core inflation that you just said, food and energy, other that are really have in macroeconomic issues like high interest rate, high interest rate, number one, reduction of liquidity in the system, government interventions also have been part of the problem. If you look at some government intervention, like a country like Nigeria, where we have thrown money, the former administration printing of a currency that has also fueled inflation. But other microeconomy indices that really fuel inflation outside of what you just mentioned. A high interest rate as a result of hiking interest rate that have made cost of borrowing go high. And so that has also had effect on the on household product, and also other things that also have affected, like I said initially, physical side also uh, increasing some of their own tariff, either in terms of power tariff, especially in a country like Nigeria. So those are outside those energy and food costs. You've seen some of those challenges has to do with macroeconomic policies, like I said, high interest rate, reduction of liquidity in the system, which have sometimes affected smaller business.
Now, we've seen regional disparities in inflation rates with Bauchi, Kebbi and Anambra states having the highest year-on-year inflation. What factors could explain these regional differences?
Let's go to the three places that you just mentioned, Kebbi, Bauchi, and Anambra. You see, if you look at these three, with exception from Bauchi, which don't have serious security challenges. If you look at it's still like Kebbi, because of government intervention, I mean security force intervention in dealing with banditry in Zamfara State, most of them have moved to the core north of Kebbi and Sokoto State. And so they have helped for a lot of challenges in those areas. And so farmers are not able to go to farms in those places. If you look at Anambra also, you know that because of the incident of insecurity there, also that has also fueled a lot of issues that have result in hike in prices. And then another major issues, when you look at Bauchi, if you look at Bauchi, the boundary between Bauchi and these states that are going through insecurity also is part of the issues that are fueling those high costs of living in those places also. And then also low lack of rainfall, especially in a place like Bauchi. Also, that has also affected high costs of living in those places.
Now, so far this year, the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the monetary policy rate about 6 times, with the benchmark rate now at 27.5%. How effective do you think this tightening of monetary policy will be in controlling inflation in the short and long term?
But this policy have not really controlled inflation, and I don't think it will control inflation because we are not dealing with the real issue of our inflation. When you look at some of this policy, they are textbook economic policy. Normally, you use this policy of hiking interest rate and also reduction in liquidity. But in Nigerian case, if you do hike in interest rate, you are hiking the cost of borrowing, which is already extremely high. If you reduce liquidity in the system, also you are causing a distortion to the SME space, which is the most vibrant sector. Definitely, you don't think they will achieve the desired results with these current policies.
At the beginning of the year, the CBN had an inflation rate target of 21.4%. But from the situation of things, it is far from being met. What will you say are the realistic expectations for inflation control in the next 3 to 6 months?
But the realistic expectation of control is, one, we must get the exchange rate stable. If we get it stable, then definitely we have driven down inflation. Secondly, higher interest rate is causing a distortion that is causing high cost of goods and services. So we need to address that also to bring it down. And again, we also need to deal with the security challenges so that farmers will be able to go to farm and they will be able to produce more. And then the government policy of removal of tariff on food items must come in stream, and they must come in stream immediately for us to achieve any major, success in terms of tackling inflation, rather than this marginal gain that we gain today. The next month, we are higher than where we were before. And this is largely driven because FX and exchange rate in terms of FX is still not stable yet. It's still in a corridor of stability, like I always say, but it's not very stable yet. So we need to deal with all these issues if we really want to have a reasonable dealing with inflation in the next 6 months. 2 major things that will drive down inflation: removal of tariff for food items, and also stability in the exchange rate.
Well, in addition to monetary policy, what structural reforms do you think are essential to reducing inflation in Nigeria? Should the government focus more on improving local production or enhancing the financial sector stability?
Those two must have to work together. You have to think about those two working together. Because when you're talking about local production, you can't do local production without funding. And once funding is high, then that means the financial sector is going through some challenges also. Either those that are borrowed are not able to pay because CBN is hiking rates, and that's so the government need to strike a balance. You need to attack those two aspects I just mentioned. But the good thing about the stability side in the financial sector is that the financial sector is very stable in Nigeria. So what we need to do is to look at the production side. The financial sector is the most success story in Nigeria as it stands. Now they're expanding to other sort of Africa. So in terms of financial stability, I don't think we have a problem there. But our major problem is in terms of local production. And because of the high cost of local production, due to some of the factors that I've mentioned, and I'll still go back to one factor, high cost of power, high cost of energy. We thought with the advent of Dangote refinery, we will see that energy costs will come down, but we are not seeing that. Power also is high, and it tells you because of the exchange rate. So you realize that everything is tied around exchange rate. So it's still boiled down to that exchange rate. But again, I just mentioned those two other factors that the government need to deal with if they really want to tackle this inflation.
How does inflation, particularly in essential goods, impact the poverty rate in Nigeria? And what you see are the long-term socio-economic consequences?
When you talk about inflation and poverty in Nigeria, then because one thing you need to look, inflation goes up, and then cost of living goes up. Earning ability still remains the same, if not lower. If you look at the dollar equivalent of what we have today compared to where we were last year, definitely you realize that our earning ability has even gone down, has not improved at all. Because at the time we're collecting the 30,000 minimum wage, the exchange rate was about 360, and now they are collecting about 70,000 minimum wage, and the exchange rate is about 1,600. So it's not that also is driving a lot of people into poverty. So when you talk about the social economic activities of this, is that a lot of people are not be able to earn so much, and then they are not able to meet their basic needs. And companies also, because of the high cost of production, like I told you, they also shutting down, especially the SME space, which is the vibrant sector of the Nigerian economy, because every Nigeria is a trader, but they are not able to go to the market to trade, to make ends meet, daily income, because people are not even patronizing them because of their low earning ability. So definitely that also is resulting in them driving a lot of people into the poverty gap, because their earning has come down. So you're having that poverty level going high and high employment all at the same time, because of inflation and pressure that have not helped improve the earning of the average citizens.
Well, the festive season is just around the corner. Are we likely to see another increase before the year runs out?
I'm not so excited, and I think we will see. We will see. Definitely, even if the CBN are not meeting to hike it, we will see. You remember I've talked about supply chain issues, it's still there. I've talked about exchange rate, it's still there. I've talked about high interest rate, it's still there. The CBN Monetary Committee are not meeting to drive down rate. I've talked about security issues. Yeah, there's improvement here and here, but there are soft targets. And then the terrorists and bandits are having a go at soft target, and most of these soft targets are people that go to farm. Energy cost is not coming down anytime soon. Exchange rate is still high according to them. Then power also, most of the industries that are in band A, they are paying more, and it's not ready to come down at the moment. So when you look at that, and then by and by the Yeta seeding, and also now we've added another issue to it now, the issue of non-availability of cash. All these are going to have a negative impact. So definitely, if you ask me, from where I'm sitting, I think inflation will be high in this month of December.
Well, economist Mukhtar Mohammed, many thanks for lending your thoughts on the program. That's it on this episode of the program. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Okpeyemi Owoseni. See you next time.